and welcome to this week's In Conversation. My name is Phil Jackman, and I lead on CyberNorth, Dynamo Northeast cybersecurity cluster, supported by the Future and the Innovation Super Network. Each week, I'm talking to people in the Northeast cybersecurity industry. And today, I'm joined by Philip Anderson, longtime friend and senior lecturer at Northumbria University. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
You're very, very good, thanks, first. So can we start off then by telling us a bit about yourself and your role at Northumbria?
Crikey, how far do you want to go back? I've been a university lecturer since 2001 for my sins. Before that, I worked at the university in IT support. I did my degree at Northumbria University as well. Maybe I should have had a university t-shirt on. But Northumbria University, blood runs through me. So I started as IT support in their labs and did that for a little bit, and then chance conversation with another academic. I always wanted to do teaching, but I wasn't sure what kind of teaching. My degree was in IT. I did it at the university, and then I had a chance conversation with an academic member of staff in the School of Computing as it was then, and they said, "Oh, do you want to do some part-time teaching?" And it was web development and design at the time. So gave it a go, got hooked, and then as far as my life goes, right place, right time. So it was a good time. Student numbers were rising. The school was advertising. Got offered a 2-year temporary contract as a lecturer, was made permanent after a year. So I taught programming in Java and web design development. And then in 2006, a conversation with one of our friends, Alistair Irons, when he was at the university saying, "Do you fancy doing a digital forensics degree?" I was like, "By sure, yeah." So we chatted about that, and we developed that. And then in 2007, we launched that. And then I think another colleague, Chris Lang, so that'll have been 2006, 7, 2008, 9, we launched as it was then, I think it was a cybersecurity degree. So we've had we've had 2 degrees for well over 10 years now, and predominantly I've taught on the digital forensic elements. That's my background. So I looked after the course for a bit. Past couple of years, I've kind of changed in that I'm now heavily involved in the police constable degree apprenticeship. So I teach the digital policing element to the new police students on that degree for Northumbria Police at the minute. And then next year we'll be teaching the students from Durham Constabulary as well. So all about digital devices and how you handle them, seize them, and what types of evidence you can find, and all kinds of stuff. So it's really interesting. And I mean, it's one of these things. It keeps me busy.
Excellent. So I've come across so many people who've been taught by Philip. It's
it's interesting. It's one of these things. It tells me how old I'm getting now, because some of the first students I don't the students I befriend on social networks, not necessarily LinkedIn, but other social networks are available, and some of them are married and some of them are having kids now. It's just like, God, I'm old.
Yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, these must be very strange times at the university, yeah? So how is it adapting to the influx of students, new students?
I think when it all first started, we as a bunch of people in. So I'm in the computing and information sciences department. So when we all knew what was coming, and we knew in March we'd have to finish the second semester off remote teaching, and it's one of these things where we've got the technology and we've got the ability to do it. We've never had the impetus or the need to do it. Yes, we deliver blended courses online as a standalone product, but we've never had to do the whole undergraduate and postgraduate. So I think that the transition over the space of a week to delivering completely online, in my experience, it went reasonably well. So that was finishing off last academic year. Students engaged online platforms, Microsoft Teams. We've got the Blackboard platform we use to deliver all our learning material, and they've got protocol Collaborate, which allows us to have live sessions and recorded sessions. So looking towards next week when we start the new academic year, I mean, it's how we're going to deliver it, and how we're going to meet the students' expectations. The university has provided clear guidance on what we should be doing, so there will be a face-to-face element for students who want it, as long as obviously the safety's there. I mean, from a university perspective, they're very much aware of the safety aspect of doing it. But I think as well is how much do we try and return to the norm? So these new students, so think about the first year students, it's their first year, and it's going to be their first experience of university, and we want it to be as close to normal for those who want to come in and do it. But there's obviously going to be things that we can and can't do. And then, I mean, last year was very similar with the final year students finishing them off. You know, I mean, they've invested 2-3 years of their degree, and they're almost the last hurdle, and the coronavirus almost pulls the plug on them. So it was just getting them over the final hurdle. So again, it's the material hasn't changed. The methods, the way we deliver it will be. So we'll have online taught sessions. We may have classroom sessions where students who can come in and do want to come in can take part. So I would think, I mean, so
tell me, Phil, what does studying for a cybersecurity qualification entail?
All sorts and everything. From an academic perspective, this is an interesting challenge, I think, in this arena, and it's one that I've been aware of for an awful long time since we developed it. And I think from a student's perspective, I mean, there's all these industry standards qualifications out there, and then we've got the academic degree as well. And I think what we try to do from an academic point of view is to push the lifelong learning aspect of teaching. And it's not the quick hits about certification and it's a snapshot of particular knowledge. I mean, our degree, we've got industry certificates, we've got the Cisco qualification, we've got EC Council ones, but they're almost to gift wrap the core academic material. So, I mean, yes, there's plenty of hands-on stuff. It's the nature of the subject, you know what I mean? So we've got labs, we've got high-tech labs with routers and switches in different operating system environments, so they can try everything and anything. We've got loads of honeypots that academic staff have developed, so they can try the new stuff. But I think one of the interesting challenges about this particular area in the technology is it changes from one day to the next. So you can't keep teaching. It's almost you need to teach a technique for the student to pick up a different problem. Problem solving is probably the biggest area that you're trying to get the students to do. I mean, you've got this issue, how are you going to solve it? I mean, once a problem's solved, it's done. Next problem comes along and you've got to address it. So it's trying to get them to understand, and it's to take these lifelong skills with them. So, I mean, they could be at university 3 or 4 years, but when they get out into industry, it's basically what have they learned at university they can then take onwards and with them into industry as well. So they're not reliant on, staff saying, right, okay, do this, do that. So a lot of it's the core skills. Communication's a big thing as well. It's not just about the technology and about using software like Kali Linux. I mean, particularly in cybersecurity, you're going to have to talk to people who have very little background knowledge or experience of cybersecurity concepts, and it's a key thing. And it's probably one of the Marmite issues we have with students. They either like it or hate it, but it's a key thing. They're going to be expected to write reports. They're going to be expected to present findings. I can remember many years ago, there was a student who did a placement at a local company, and within 2 or 3 weeks, she was asked to present statistics of cybersecurity attacks on their organization to a select member of a committee, and she'd never done it before. But it's one of these things. There's a balance that students need, and it's the technology, it's the problem solving, and it's the communication, the reading and writing that goes with it as well. So you get that over 3 years.
Is interest in cybersecurity courses growing, and if so, what's the gender split like?
Oh, it's really successful. I mean, there's 2 streams we have. We've got the computer networks and cybersecurity, and we've got the computer and digital forensics. And we had a restructure 4 or 5 years ago, and there is a massive interest in the cybersecurity element on that degree. I think we're looking at perhaps maybe 100 students per year coming in around that. Obviously, it's one of these things when it comes to the next couple of weeks. Teaching starts at the end of September, so we'll see how many students turn up. Gender split wise, again with the digital forensics, my experience is it's better than most computing programs in my experience. So what I've had, certainly for the when I've taught the digital forensics program, the male-female gender split has probably been say over 30 students. Maybe it's been about 8, 9 or 10 female students in there. I think, I mean, going forward, I think it's one of these areas that's compared to maybe your traditional computer science, that the ratio is slightly better. And I think, I mean, I follow quite a number of high-profile females in cybersecurity on LinkedIn, and I mean, I think the interest's there, and it's just getting it going. But it's a huge issue. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we did this summer school last year, was to try and get the interests from. I mean, it's both genders really. It's to get the interest from an early age, but also I think there's huge issues around getting. I mean, there's computing clubs for girls and this, that, and the other, and it's getting them interested in the right age to do what they want to do. But the gender balance is pretty good in my opinion in this area. It's pretty good.
Okay, excellent, thanks. So can I just talk a bit about CyberNorth, which you and I have been involved in since its inception. So what are your hopes for it and the region's cybersecurity scene?
I think it's going well. I mean, the amount of work. I mean, I watch you, and I just sweat profusely watching you work. I sweat on your behalf the amount of work you do, but it does pay dividends, and I think it's one of these. And I think it's a well-known fact. It's one of these things that you've still got a challenge if people need to accept that it's out there, and it's going to be an issue, and it's not if me, it's going to be when. And I think from being involved in the beginning, you can see how it's like we've got the snowball, and we're pushing the snowball up a hill, but it's getting bigger and it's getting bigger every year. You know, I mean, the number of events you pull together across the region and what CyberNorth are involved in, and it demonstrates that there is an interest there. And it's just the hardest thing, I think, is keeping the momentum going. And I think it will spread, but I think it's a slow burning fuse. Well, I think it is. You know what I mean? I enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's one of these things, and from my little bit of input that I provide, it's the Northeast is a fantastic base, and there are some really big national and international companies in the region, and there's a body of people. You know what I mean? The student numbers, we're getting the students interested in it. We know there's work out there, so as an area, I think the Northeast has probably got a good future ahead of it, because we're just at the beginning. We've built the foundations, and let's keep it growing. You know, it does take hard work. It does, but I think without that hard work, I think it will just fall away again. But what we've got, or what you've got, really, you know, like I say, I'm just there for the little bit that I put in, but I think we've got a fantastic thing that we've developed, and it's changing every year. The new things we think about doing, the cyber parks and everything else that goes on, it'll be fantastic for the region, and it's just keeping that momentum going. But I think for the future, I think the future is quite bright for the Northeast when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yeah, I hope so. You're very kind, by the way. It is a team effort.
Oh no! Yeah.
Usually on my behalf, but there you go. So September is Cyberfest. It's just around the corner. How can we keep that momentum going, do you think?
I think I mean, we're in a different environment at the minute. It was, I mean, we did the interview a few months ago for the cyber session, and I think the online environment is probably going to prove a little bit more of an interesting challenge. And I think we're relying on people sharing the message and engaging with us. It may be a bit easier online. Perhaps people can dip in and dip out of particular sessions where they can't commit the whole day. So there's possible advantages to having it completely online. So I would think it's basically get involved, just go along, see what's there, and see what piques your interest, but keep in touch. I mean, we're always looking for people to be involved. You don't have to sit in the wings if you don't want to. We're always looking for new ideas, new things to do. We're looking for people, enthusiastic people to come along and get involved and drive this forward. It's a fantastic opportunity. If people are new to the industry, come along and see what we've got. And if businesses are not sure, just pop in. You know what I mean? You can pop in online and watch a session and just see what you're thinking and pick it up later. So yeah, I think this one's going to be really good. And the number of areas we've got as well: finance, the fintech stuff, agriculture. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity for almost all industries. Tourism as well, I think, is another one. I caught an email that we're pushing as well. So I mean, there will be an area for businesses out there that basically just commit 1 hour in that day, and just pop along and have a look and just see where you are.
Excellent, thanks, Phil. So my final question for you then is, what's your personal focus right now?
In the back of my mind, I think it'll be the teaching, and I think it's going to be getting the teaching right for the students come September. And I think that's my focus over the next few weeks. Long term is I've just started a PhD, so I need to keep that ticking over as well. But I would think as well, it's what I enjoy doing it, and I was disappointed this year that we couldn't do it, was the cyber schools. I think that's one of my passions is basically, getting people involved in cyber stuff and getting people who, it was bringing kids from schools from, it was from Berwick to Stockton or somewhere we got. People from industry to come in and just, it was just to get them in the same room together. That's what I like doing. So I would think I'm juggling a few plates, but it's nothing that I don't enjoy.
No, perhaps next year, and then by then we might be calling you Dr. Philip Anderson.
Well,
so
it'll be a few years yet, but yeah, hopefully.
Anyway, well, thank you very much for that, Philip. I'd also like to thank Robert Campbell, who's in the background somewhere, who's helped me to set up these conversations. Look out for the next in our series. We're going to take a bit of a break over the next month because of Cyberfest, but I hope to see you all there. Thanks very much, Philip.
Thank you.